Today, we're going to talk about a huge, kind of invisible shift that's happening in our online lives. It's this quiet migration away from the big, noisy social networks we all know and towards something, well, something a lot smaller and maybe a lot more human. Let's get into it.
You know the feeling, right? You're scrolling through this endless feed of perfect vacations, perfect families, big announcements. And when you finally put your phone down, you feel this weird emptiness, almost lonelier. If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. So what is going on?
For a long, long time, we've been asking this one question. Is social media good for us or is it bad for us? But honestly, that might be the completely wrong way to look at it. The real issue isn't whether the tool is good or evil, it's the shape of the rooms we're all hanging out in online.
Okay, so let's use a framework here. Think of it like this. Our digital world is splitting into two totally different places. You've got the public square, that's the broadcast, one-to-many model where it's all about performance, and then you've got the digital campfire, that's the community, many-to-many model where it's all about belonging. Getting this difference is the key to, well, everything else we're about to talk about. So let's start with the world most of us know best, the public square. What is it really? And why does spending time there so often leave us feeling completely drained? For social smarts, the public square basically runs on performance. Your main Instagram feed, your Facebook wall, they're designed for us to put on a show. We're all carefully crafting an identity and then waiting for those little hits of validation. The likes, the shares, the comments. It's less about actual connection and way more about getting a round of applause from the crowd. And living like that has some pretty serious side effects. Of course, there's the constant social comparison, but it goes deeper. These platforms are perfect breeding grounds for confirmation bias, where you only see things you already agree with. And they're great at something called emotional contagion, where moods, especially the negative ones, just spread like wildfire. And that leads us to a really big one, the echo chamber. This is what happens when the algorithm figures out what you like and just feeds you more and more of it. Pretty soon, you're in this bubble where it seems like everyone agrees with you, and any other viewpoint just kind of disappears. Now, here's where it gets really weird. A little hidden insight for you. You'd think that the most engaged, most active people in an online group would be the happiest, right? Well, a study analyzing Facebook data found the exact opposite. Inside these echo chambers, the more engaged someone is, the faster their posts trend towards being negative. It's a really counterintuitive pattern. So look, if you have ever felt like you're just putting on a show for a faceless audience instead of actually connecting with people, you're not imagining things. You've just been living in a place that was built for performance. And just seeing that, just recognizing the architecture, that's a huge milestone. But things are changing. People are starting to move. They're leaving the big, loud squares and they're gathering around something much older and way more intimate, the digital campfire. There's this cool term for it, the fractalization of social media. It means we're breaking off into all these tiny, niche, and usually private little communities. You know what I'm talking about. It's that Discord server for your favorite video game, that massive group chat you have with your friends from college, or that super specific forum where everyone gets what you're going through. And this isn't some small trend either. A study from McKinsey found that a whopping 66% of Gen Z believe real communities are built around shared interests and causes, not old school stuff like where you went to school or how much money you make. They are actively looking for their campfires. For settlers. And the appeal is super clear and practical. These smaller spaces just feel safer psychologically. You can be anonymous if you want to be. You get validation from people who've actually been there. And maybe best of all, that pressure to respond right now, it just kind of melts away. Okay, but what about the people who are just on the edges of the campfire? The lurkers. The ones who read everything but never seem to post. We usually just write them off as being passive, right? But what if there's something else going on entirely? It turns out lurking isn't always about being passive. For a lot of people, it's an active choice. It's a psychological safety behavior. Think about it. It's a way to get all the good stuff from the community, the info, the sense of connection, without taking the risk of putting yourself out there. In a way, it's a really smart form of emotional intelligence, a way to keep your nervous system in check. Okay, so we've looked at the problem with the public square and the big promise of the digital campfire. So now for the big question, what do we actually do with this information? Let's build a real strategy. For strategists, here it is, a simple 3-part framework. And don't worry, this isn't about deleting all your apps and moving to a cabin in the woods. It's just about being intentional. First, prioritize quality connection. Second, diversify your communities. And third, actively curate what you see. For settlers, let's break that down. Step 1 is the easiest place to start. Prioritize quality. This is super safe and practical. It's not about a big, scary digital detox. It's just about changing your focus from mindless scrolling to intentional connection. Maybe that just means spending 10 more minutes a day in that one group chat that actually makes you feel good. Okay, step 2, diversify your campfires. And this is a really cool insight from long-term studies. It's not just about being in a group that helps with loneliness. It's about being in a variety of different groups. See, your online gaming crew, your professional network, your book club, they all meet different psychological needs, and having that variety makes you way more resilient in the long run. And you know what? Just by understanding this model, the public square versus the digital campfire, you've already done something huge. You've gone from being a passive consumer to being the architect of your own online experience. And that is a massive win. For settlers and social smarts. And finally, step 3, you gotta actively curate your public feeds. Here are a couple of simple, doable rules. Make a point to follow at least one person or source that you know has a different perspective. And on the flip side, don't be afraid to mute accounts that just shout the same opinion over and over. The goal here is not to start fights, it's to break the echo chamber's grip on your brain. That's how you stay actually informed. When you boil it all down, this whole thing, this great online migration, it's not really about new apps or new technology. It's a deeply human shift. It's a move away from the constant pressure of performing for a crowd and toward the simple comfort of belonging in a community. But that leaves us with a huge and pretty critical new question. As we all gather around these new, cozier campfires, what's to stop them from just becoming smaller, even more intense echo chambers? How do we keep our communities safe without completely closing them off to the outside world? That's a big question, maybe for another day. For now, if any of this clicked for you and you know someone who just seems exhausted by their online life, maybe think about sharing this with them. Figuring out how to build a healthier digital world, that's a conversation we really all need to be having. Thanks for hanging out.
If this touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share it with your family. Save this for more meaningful content ahead.